Chapter 13. Caden. When I placed the key in the door to the shop at the crack of dawn and looked at the window, I could see Brian and Lane were busy inside, making sure everything was in place before they opened. They were aware of the morning crowd that had parked their bottoms on the tables and chairs waiting for their morning fix. The door opened and I sauntered inside, exhausted from last night, not because I had a ton of things to do, but because everything had been so mentally draining, from my parents asking me questions about Grayle, to the pressure of meeting so many people in Nevermore I'd never thought about having conversations with, and what to talk about. Mingling wasn't my strong suit. That was Lane's talent. I had to answer questions about why and how I came about choosing the name for the shop. I didn't know that coffee, tea, and thee would have been a hit. However, I should have known, because Lane had coordinated everything, down to the advertisements. I should have known if you paired a perfectionist with a man who had a ton of time on his hands, such as Brian, who was a venture capitalist on a small scale, donating his time and expertise to my shop, I would be a success, and the receipts didn't lie. These two would be the death of me, though, the way they were looking at their watches. I hadn't planned on starting out on top. I just wanted something to keep me busy and work my way up with as little hard work as possible. Although I had a good work ethic, theirs were over the top. Lane crossed his arms and turned to me with a furrowed brow. "I hope you know that a business has a lot of responsibilities," Lane said, looking over at Brian, who appeared to be in accordance with Lane. They both gave me this look that said, "He's going to be trouble." No shit. They were taking this shop to a whole new level, one I hadn't planned on. One where I had to wake up at 4 a.m., get to the shop at 5, and work my ass off until closing time, and then work an hour more before I dragged myself off to bed, tired and frustrated. I hadn't planned on this, but now that I was in the middle of this, how the fuck did I get out? "I'm only 5 minutes late and the place doesn't open until 6 o'clock, I said, shrugging off my blue jean jacket before walking past the critical stairs to my office. When I opened the door, Lane was standing behind me, shaking his head. "Don't lecture me, Lane. I had a long night, and with that cunt Austin always around, I don't know if I can do this." "Do what? What the fuck are you talking about? You've invested your father's savings into this place, my time, and I don't make that much money, and now you don't know." "Hold up, Lane, I wasn't talking about my business. If you want more money, tell the bookkeeper to give you a raise if we can afford it." That brought a joyful smile to his face. "Lane, I was talking about Grayle. I don't know if I can go along with what he wants and wait for Grayle to get it together. And now he has a baby with Austin." I knew my conversation was about my love life and not my business life, but they did go together. How could you do your best job if you were not happy with your love life and at home? Lane inhaled a large breath and placed his hand on my shoulder. "Grayle and Austin didn't have a baby together, Caden. You're looking at this all wrong. Look at it this way. That cunt Austin is the surrogate dad, and you and I know that he'll be a lousy father because the man thinks with his dick. All you have to do is wait until Grayle comes to his senses, because after all, he is a lawyer. Austin is a lawyer too. Were you listening, Caden? Austin thinks with his dick most of the time. Granted, we all do, but that man doesn't give a fuck about relationships, or he wouldn't have treated Grayle the way he has. You saw something in Grayle that he never did, because you were like Grayle, and you two belong together. You have the same heart, and if Grayle can't see that, then he needs to get everything that's coming to him," Lane argued. "Look, I don't have time to go over this with you. I have to work, and your mind appears to be on Grayle, and until then, someone has to hold up this business because I need the money." "What's wrong? You're going to get a raise. That should help." The minute I asked Lane what was wrong, his eyes teared. "I think Scott is fucking around on me." I was as much surprised as I thought Lane was. "You don't know that for a fact. Doesn't he work all the time?" "I called him last night, and he wasn't at the hospital. The nurse at his station answered the phone, and said that he had Saturdays off. Every Saturday night, and he said that he had to work. Lane leaned his head on my shoulder. What could I tell him? I was going through something myself. Maybe Brian knows what's going on. I don't think he knows because he's never home. Must be with his new squeeze. That was a strange reference coming from Lane. He'd been watching too many of those 80s sitcoms. Besides, I can't ask him to spy on his own brother. I wouldn't know where to start the conversation. This is a small town, somebody will know something. I'll check around, and if that doesn't work, then the only thing to do is to follow him and find out where he's going. Do you want to know? Once you decide to do that, you can't go back. So you have to make up your mind before you go looking for him, whether you can face whatever you find. Will you go with me? I don't think I can do that alone. I need. Lane couldn't complete his sentence. I knew what he needed. Someone he could cry on their shoulder, and who better than me if he found out something he couldn't face. He'd given up college so Scott could finish his studies and make more money, and now this. Lane must have heard the stories about how nurses would date doctors and then cast their spouses away once they did get their doctors. What about Brian? Have you asked Brian to go with you? You don't have to tell him what you're doing. He's a fifth wheel to a coach. He wouldn't want to be partners in spying on his brother. Then I had no choice but to go along with him. I didn't know Scott well enough to care what he thought of me, but I knew my friend was hurting, and I had to stop the pain, or if the scene was too much for Lane, then I'd add to his misery and be around if he needed me. Lane, realizing it was time, walked away and stood near my office door and opened it and peeked into the shop. Everyone appeared to be here, he said, sending me a small smile. The students I hired from the college are the best. They're in there, ready to go. He turned to me, inhaled, and wiped his eyes. Okay. I'm opening up now. I'll be there in a few. Give me a minute or two. I have to check on our sales from last night. Oh, I forgot. We're having a training session for baristas this evening. It appears we don't have enough. Do what you need to do, Lane, and try not to think too much. Yeah, that was easy for me to say. As soon as the door opened and I'd gone over everything, I shut my computer off and strode out to get myself a cup of coffee. After I sat and one of the young waiters handed me my morning coffee, I sauntered over to where Parker had been sitting in front of the flat screen away from everyone, watching the news. You're here early, I observed. Oh, hi. Caden, right? You own this place. I see you take your job seriously, much like my Tony. He's all about making his business a success. He's a great catch. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. How did you do it? I mean, how did you convince a straight guy who wasn't gay to marry you, and to have a life together? It should have been much easier to get involved with a gay man, but apparently that wasn't the case with me. I didn't start out thinking he was straight and I'd never get a chance with him. It was all fortuitous. I'm sure he never envisioned himself with the man, Parker chuckled. We found each other through mutual need. He needed me and I needed him. The gender thing was coincidental after we got past family shit and him being married to a woman. What's your problem? It's not like yours. I thought it might be easier with a gay man than dealing with a straight one, I stated, waiting for Parker's reaction. Not really. No relationship is easy. Man or woman. Humans are too complicated, and they bring their own set of prejudices and BS. And you, Caden, what's the main problem? My man thinks I'm too young for him. Before I could get Parker into a serious conversation with me, his husband, Tony, was standing there. Are you ready, baby? We have to get out to the construction site, and we're going to be late. I had to speak to Brian first, get my coffee and your tea for the guys at Wounded Ink to drop that off first. They wanted to get their own coffee, but I couldn't spare them this morning, because we have deadlines to meet. He glanced around. Once they get inside this place, sitting around talking, the day would be over. You have a great place here, and you're going to make a lot of money. I hope you have the energy for it. Parker stood and leaned in, and took the bag filled with baked goodies from Tony. The way they looked at each other as if no one else was around, I wanted that with Gray, and I intended on getting it.